So first, I really like to thank you guys. This is a great honor, and actually, yeah, it's working. And actually, preparing for this talk was significantly tougher than I expected initially, because I wanted to share something that will hopefully be useful for you guys, not just a waste of time. And during thinking about that, I found two things that this whole talk will be about. The first is that I'm just like you. I'm talking to the students here. There's nothing different. I'll show you how. And the second, I found this pattern that really helped me. I was very lucky in how I behave. And basically what I do is that I like many things, and I start working on them all and studying them all. And I meet great people in these areas, and I learn a lot. And then one of these areas kind of draws me and takes me to the next step. And I'll just tell you how things went, and I hope this is helpful for you. So the first thing to just clarify is that at AUB, compared to CCE, I was kind of good, nothing to write home about. It's not like there's any magic here. We're all people. We're all regular. But so I spent a lot of time. I was like number 25 out of 80 people, but I spent a lot of time. I actually took the courses for 3 minors: philosophy, physics, and mathematics. I didn't file for the paperwork for 2 of them because I don't care about the paperwork. But I really liked those things. I liked philosophy, I liked mathematics, I liked physics. And in those courses, while learning those things, while interacting with the people who care about the things that I care about, I created bonds and friendships that are very deep and important. And for example, and this is very relevant to the story, Dr. Bashar Haidar, he's a professor in the philosophy department here. We started arguing about everything. We don't agree on anything, from religion to politics, maybe social justice, we agree. And we became very close. And then in my third year in AUB, he said, yeah, you have an internship this summer. I have a friend at MIT I can ask for you. Right? It came out of the left field. I was just talking to this person because we had something in common, and I was interested in that. Of course, things never go so easily. So other than the crazy work I had to put through during the internship, where I had this rule for myself that every day I don't leave the lab unless I come with a new idea. And some days I left the lab like 2 hours after I came in. But once I stayed there from Thursday till Monday because I wasn't coming up with anything new. And I would just go back home at 2 a.m. and then come back at 7 a.m. to the lab after 5 hours sleeping. But of course, things will go wrong. And you would have to deal with all these legal issues and paperwork and stuff like that. So even going for the internship at MIT, it was this huge hassle. Ending with the visa being late, and Mrs. Mfarij here, whom I think is still here, and you guys all know, was unbelievably helpful here in this phase. But again, the point is that you spread, you find a lot of interesting things, you meet great people, and that gives you an opportunity. And then you have to push real hard. You have to make tens of phone calls to people you've never met at MIT to convince them that they should change the rule and accept you. Of course, we also had a lot of fun during AUB. We won the rally paper, and we started making it serious, having a bunch of teams and multiple cars and stuff like that. And this is, again, it's all about bonding with the people. This is the biggest investment you guys will have. It's not about the return in terms of an opportunity or something like that. It's about its own investment, its own reward. So I went to MIT, and actually I was working on the TSP. A couple of people mentioned it here today. It's the traveling salesman problem. And the twist that I was working on, this is my thesis, is that the salesman has a set of differential equations that can be arbitrarily complicated, and those dedicate how he or the robot, it, can or cannot move. And of course, that makes the problem much more difficult. And I was working on getting optimal solutions for different type of dynamic systems for the TSP. So this was my thesis. But again, just like I was in AUB, this is the pattern that I discovered. I worked on unmanned aerial vehicles. So I had a friend who was doing this stuff. And we wanted to do a delivery service using unmanned aerial vehicles. This is in 2009. We found out that it's illegal to fly these things in Boston. And if an Arab and a Turk are trying to do it, that makes it even a bit harder. And so it didn't go out of the lab. But you know, again, interested in a lot of things and just explore. I also worked on a bunch of very abstract mathematics stuff. And this is not that helpful except for encryption and stuff like that. And it's about how to factor huge matrices very quickly, right? It's totally separate from anything else that you would do in your life. And again, these are totally different from my thesis, right? And the last thing I worked on, so again, hanging out at MIT, and this computational biologist is telling me that she studies something called signaling pathways. It's about how proteins in cells affect each other. And that there's, of course, it's not linear. There's a network and there's feedback and stuff like that. And how when there's a cycle, you cannot get anything from the data because you don't know what affects what, because everything, you know, it just throws causality off. And my response was that in engineering, in controls engineering, this has been solved for a while, right? You have ways of identifying cycles and breaking them, the feedback loop. And actually, I did a lot of work, and my amazing advisor at MIT, Mr. Dahle, he supported me doing all of the stuff that was not relevant to my thesis. Again, amazing people. I'm just being very blessed and lucky. And again, so exploring all of these things, I met a lot of great people, and I worked with them, and I had close relationships with them. And Karen here, at some point, dragged me to Harvard to see this professor, Claire Tomlin, who had a position in both Stanford and Berkeley, and she had an engineering background and is solving biology problems. Now, just the description makes you really want to go and see this. And I saw her talk, and I just thought, I want to work with this woman, right? She's doing things right. She's doing things the engineering way, the scientific way. You put a model. If it doesn't work, you improve it until it works, and then you predict things that people wouldn't have dreamed of, and it turned out it's true. So this was amazing. Of course, again, things don't go as easy as you think. When I contacted Claire first, she didn't reply to my emails. And then I had to push a lot again and again until I got an interview. I got to present. And I worked very hard to do a great job, and I got an offer on the spot. So that was really fun. Of course, nothing of you guys who are going to do a PhD, the thesis will not be fun. Writing the thesis after you've done all the research and stuff like that, it's basically legal torture. And then after you finish, usually there's this thing, okay, what do I do now? It just feels like you're launched and then left floating in midair. So I went to Berkeley, MIT, to Berkeley and Stanford, California, very beautiful, and working on cancer research. This is very nice, right? It's a blessing. I felt amazing. You get this thing, you have all of the power of mathematics and engineering, the structure, the beauty, and you're entering a field where you can really change people's lives. You can save people. And what I worked on there, and we have a patent in Berkeley on it, is creating dynamic models of how cancer cells behave, so differential equation models, and how healthy cells behave, and then creating treatments according to those models. So from the mathematics, you create a treatment. And some of these treatments are not intuitive. You give them to the mouse, and the cancer seems to be, in the beginning, it seems to be growing and growing. But actually, it's growing in number, but it's becoming much weaker and much more sensitive to your next step of the treatment. And then it goes away. So this was an amazing experience. But still, me being me, of course, I worked on a bunch of stuff on the side. I did a bunch of lab work, which you guys, everyone needs to do to learn patience. This pipetting stuff is crazy. And I worked on compressive sensing. Who knows compressive sensing here? Nobody? So it's this gorgeous mathematical thing where, so when I first heard of it, I promise, I said, okay, this is either lying, it's either wrong, or we should all just go home. These people have solved science, right? There's nothing left to do. And what compressive sensing allows you to do is to measure. So if you have 20 variables you want to measure, or 200 variables, you can do much less measurements, log n, order of log n measurements, and you can retrieve your data perfectly. So all of the laws about estimation and stuff, how is that happening? Of course, there are special cases, and what we did is apply this beautiful thing to something called flow cytometry, where they get some of your blood or something like that, and they color different proteins. And so instead of coloring different proteins differently, we did a compressive sensing approach to this. And suddenly, from this very mathematical, abstract thing, and you apply it, and suddenly you have cheaper tests for people to do their blood tests. Now it's cheaper, more efficient. They need less bone marrow. And I worked on, again, a couple of other things. These are the examples, because it's all about the people in the end, for creating an app that gives you recommendations based on your behavior. So you walk around, you look at certain websites, you use certain applications, and combining all of that, in a Netflix competition type of algorithm, you can get recommendations that are very tailored to you. Right? This is all during my postdoc, and I also worked with my sister, who's a genius MD, and it was very great to work with her. And basically, what the problem is the following: these are measurements for the length of the DNA strands in normal blood, and you see that it's kind of distributed very nicely and something like that. And when you have cancer, it looks something much more difficult and much more ugly. It's not usually so obvious, but basically what the doctor has to do is to look at this plot and to know whether it's a cancer or not. And of course, if you know machine learning and stuff like that, you would think automatically, okay, I'll put NSVM or a neural network to try to learn these. And this was, again, this amazing opportunity to work with my sister and other great people, some of whom are my friends from childhood, on a bunch of different things. So the next step this time didn't come from any direction. It came from me working for like a year on this weird idea that the computers of the future should not be limited by the size of the interface. You should have a tiny computer with a large interface. Right now, you either have a small phone and it's very hard to control, and you cannot do any work on it, or you have a big PC and it's not portable, right? And me being lazy, I just wanted my phone to project a keyboard and a screen, right? Why doesn't my phone do that? I started researching it, looking at the optics of it, the power consumption, the computer vision for detecting the hands and stuff like that. And then I quickly turned into this different form factor, which is egocentric. There are a lot of advantages from privacy to the size of the screen, right? You move your head and now you can pan. And I worked for, it turns out this is not as easy as it seems. It's not as easy to do as it seems, creating these glasses that have a full computer in them and you can interact with things in midair. I worked for like a year to get just to this. I basically had two phones that connected to each other, and I was able to, I had this one app. It shows you a button in 3D. It shows you on both phones. You click it once, the color of the button changes, and that's it. You have to restart the application to click it again. It's as basic as can be. And with this and a business plan, I went and met, again, these great investors at a lucky time. There's a trick to that, it turns out. And I got $2.5 million to start Athir. And this was, again, an amazing opportunity. I felt very, very blessed. And in my mind, this is, right? In my mind, this was this. I already wanted to push the vision. And here, right now, the phase, what I'm learning, what I'm trying to learn, right? Because again, I'm trying to learn many different things. And there's this whole new world that opened up. And anybody who's thinking of entrepreneurial stuff, we have a team that talked about it now. There's all of this finance, the business modeling, the marketing, the sales, and all of that stuff. And yeah, it's a totally different world. It's a very interesting world. The nicest and most difficult part of it is dealing with people. It's dealing with the guy who had a fight with his wife, and so he's grumpy in the meeting, and so you're not getting good terms, right? It's these things that are totally unpredictable, and I'm very curious, and I'm trying to learn all of these things. But again, this is all an opportunity to meet and work with amazing people. So Nabil here was my friend, my colleague at AUB. When he finished his PhD from UCLA, he wanted to do his own startup. I kidnapped him into Athir. Sina is an eye doctor who created head-mounted displays in 1997. It's like his whole life was preparing him to be at Athir. And he's really great, right? This type of people, it's just working. Shervin here next to Obama it's a totally different sample. I haven't seen anyone like that. On one hand, he tells you about the stories when him and Sean Penn took George Bush's private jet and flew to Castro. But on the other hand, you see why he's an entrepreneur and he's friends with Jay-Z and he's at the White House at the same time. He has this way with people, this authenticity. And when I'm around that, basically what I really want to learn that, right? It's very attractive. Bobby was a seed round investor in Google. So these people make things happen. Somebody who funded Google and connected them to VCs, right? These people know. Nushin was the second youngest VP. She is still holding there as second youngest VP ever at Oracle, right? When she was 20-something, she was a VP. And Michael here created the first online multiplayer game. And now he's working on helping, on mentoring startups, on focusing on the human side of things. And again, just being around these people, I feel very, very blessed. And I'm not sure if any of them I will work with after. Maybe, I hope I do. But it's not about that, right? It's about this, appreciating this opportunity. And it will get you far. Try to explore, and it will get you far. And so right now at Athir, I think this will play by itself. Maybe I need to. So we actually have systems that are working. It's okay. It's not. It's just weird music. And you have objects in space, and you can interact with them. You can touch things in space. You can use any Android application and stuff like that. And there was this 76-year-old lady that was cutting fruit in space, and her shouts like, you know, I'm really touching something in midair, and it's slicing. It was wonderful, and you know, having the opportunity to contribute to something like this is amazing. It's you feel very blessed. So here he's doing remote desktop to this computer, right? Because you want to leverage other power stuff. And next year, they will be something this small. So these are modules for the optics that we are using for our next systems. So these things about the hurdles that you see will go away also, right? This is another thing. This is what I've been saying up till now is in general for everybody. For entrepreneurs, especially at these times, you have to live a couple of years in the future. Because by the time you build anything, the world of technology will move so quickly. You cannot work on today's stuff. And basically, what I want to say is that first, you guys are very lucky. You're very lucky to be as smart or not as smart as you are. You're very lucky to have the people around you who have pushed you so far, your family, and who put in you the ability to work so hard, or not so hard, but enough to get you here. The community you have here, the students and the teachers are super high quality people, and it's just something to absorb. It's just something. I know that maybe right now you don't fully appreciate it, but you will. You will stay in touch with all your friends and professors from AUB, and they will mean a lot to you. And it will be a great journey for you. And so this is it. It's all about the people. It's all about the people around you. You are the average of the closest 5 people to you. They will influence you, they will affect your life, and this is it. Everything else is secondary, is trivial. Always learn, always explore. You don't have to, but the people who learn better will evolve better, and they will be on top. Right? It's all about having the hunger, the thirst. And when things are tough, and they will be tough at some point, things will never go smoothly. Nothing will go as planned. Nothing will go as planned. And when they do, and you feel that this is the right thing for you, you have to really fight and not give up. And of course, ask the great people for help if they can help you. Basically, this is it. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope it's a positive thing for you, and at some point you might look back on it. Any questions from the audience? Yes?
I just wanted to ask, how did your parents contribute to
Amazing. Great question. Great question. In general, a PhD is not the optimal way to do a startup. In general, right? Every person is different. Analytical skills and technical skills are very highly appreciated in at least in the current culture of Silicon Valley, because you have a lot of people with MBAs, a lot of people who can do the business, the finance, all of those. Someone to solve the fundamental problems of technology and take it to the next step, that's rare. And also, engineers in general and people who have this very analytical, mathematical, scientific thinking, they are really revered. So getting a high degree also will make it easier for you to raise money. So I was very blessed. I met Bobby in November 2011. By the end of 2011, by the end of December 2011, I had the money in the bank. Usually you need to meet 40 VCs on average to get the investment. And of course, part of it had that I had this, this piece of paper that convinced them that I'm good. Whether I'm good or not, I'm not saying I am, but and so it gives you validation and it trains you in analytical thinking. Whether it's the best path for you, I don't know.
Your last slide, the last point was fight for what you want. Can you give us some more detail of how you've been doing some of the fights that you have won?
So, yeah, I mean the small ones is, the toughest part is the balance. So when I first, actually, for MIT and for Berkeley, the initial response was no. And this is internship at MIT and the postdoc at Berkeley. And even my master's and PhD at MIT, I got 3 letters at the same time. I was supposed to get them, one, and then a month get the other. The first said, you're on the waiting list. We advise you to find something else. For the last 7 years, we haven't accepted anyone of the waiting list. The second one said, congratulations, you're accepted. The third one said, you have an RA-ship. If I hadn't got them at the same time, I would have had like a heart attack. The way I thought for these things, of course, the first thing to do is to try to calm down. You do not want to do something aggressive that will backfire at you, right? You don't want to pick up the phone and call one of these people and just leave a negative taste in their mouth. You hold back, you collect information, you learn about them, and you align what you want with what they want. And this gets to a personal level. This is not about MIT or Berkeley anymore. This is about this professor and whom they want to work with and what they want to work on, right? It's all about the people. And you learn, and you might learn that, hey, this is not the right person for me to work with, and that's great. But if you find a way where your interests and their interests are aligned, then the next step is to communicate that to them. And usually, I mean, this is my style. Different people have different style. Usually, I wouldn't do that directly. I would have a trusted friend or someone do that in a casual way, right? You don't want to go too aggressive. You don't want to make anything that cannot be taken back. And you do it softly, collect more information, and then increase the volume. Make it a closer and a closer contact. I hope this helps.
Okay, thank you. Maybe the last question.
What do you think of Google goggles?
So, number one, I love Google. They are amazing. They have created something that is extremely hard to create, which is a culture, and culture wins. They have created this culture that gets the right people. The right people want to work at Google, the innovative people, and they give them the right power to try things and fail. And it's okay to fail. And they're doing amazing things. So for Google Glass, and we have met the creators of Google Glass from Sergey to the heads of Google X. I agree with them on everything. I think they did a great job on everything except the use case. They focused on a pager use case. They want something minimal that gives you small bites of information, just a picture, right? Just a note. And you can send just a note. And I believe the fundamental thing, and this is, it's not something I invented, I learned and I observed, and Steve Jobs have talked about it, and Bill Gates have talked about it, that once you give people the power to interact, the power to play all of these games on their phone and stuff like that, then getting them to something minimal where they cannot send you a text message easily is very tough. So I think, but if you assume that use case, if you assume that you want minimal interaction, they have done an amazing job and put a lot of work. So in general, I don't think the product will do well in the market, and that this is happening, but it's a great try.
Okay, thank you.